And when the 6th hour had come, there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour. And at the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, which means, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? And some of the bystanders, hearing it, said, Behold, he is calling Elijah. And one ran, and filling a sponge full of vinegar, put it on a reed and gave it to him to drink, saying, Wait, let us see whether Elijah will come to take him down. And Jesus uttered a loud cry and breathed his last, and the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. And when the centurion, who stood facing him, saw that he thus breathed his last, he said, Truly, this man was the Son of God. The writer Nicholas Baker describes the visit a little girl called Norrid made to the beautiful cathedral at Ely in England. It's a building shaped like so many others in the shape of a cross. And Norrie asked her parents, why do they have to concentrate on the awful way that Jesus died? It's an important question. There are other less awful ways of being executed. In fact, every other form of execution is a better form of execution than crucifixion. What we see in today's word from the cross is the cry of dereliction, as it's known, the closest thing we have by way of an answer to Norrie's question. Let me read a passage from Paul's letter to the Galatians. For all who rely on the works of the law are under a curse, for it is written, Cursed is everyone who does not observe and obey all the things written in the book of the law. Now it is evident that no one is justified before God by the law, for the one who is righteous will live by faith. But the law does not rest on faith. On the contrary, whoever does the works of the law will live by them. Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law by becoming a curse for us. For it is written, Cursed is everyone who hangs on a tree, in order that in Christ Jesus the blessing of Abraham might come to the Gentiles, so that we might receive the promise of the Spirit through faith. Paul writes there, Christ became accursed for us. Paul saw the significance of the awfulness of Jesus' death. A crucified person in those days was doubly accursed. They were accursed in a secular sense because a crucified person was handed over to the curses of the population. The crowd was supposed to curse the crucified. That was part of the ritual and the spectacle, part of the punishment. A crucified person was also cursed in the religious sense. St. Paul states in his letter, what we've just heard, noting the text from Deuteronomy, that said a dead body left hanging on a tree was cursed by God. Paul, meditating on the accursed death of Jesus, forsaken on the cross by God and man, came to the conclusion that it was the curse itself that lay at the heart of the awful way that he died. On the cross, Jesus voluntarily and willingly bowed his head under the power of sin and the curse of God. No other mode of execution would have been commensurate with the enormity of the power of sin which holds all people in bondage. Jesus' situation under the harsh judgment of Rome was analogous to our situation under sin. He was condemned. He was rendered helpless and powerless. He was stripped of his humanity. He was reduced to the status of a beast, declared unfit to live and deserving of a death proper to slaves. And what are we if not slaves? St. Paul says in Romans, you are slaves of the one whom you obey, either of sin, which leads to death, or of obedience, which leads to righteousness. But thanks be to God that you, having been set free from sin, have become slaves of righteousness. This is what happened on the cross. The Son of God took our place under the dictatorship of sin. He was condemned by the law and subject to death because only he, the perfectly righteous one, could break the hold of these powers and bring us out of slavery to sin into the service of his righteousness.